Hello and welcome to Business Daily. This week we're taking a look at the global fashion industry. Kim Kardashian, Lizzo, Gigi Hadid. What do all of these women have in common? They're all global celebrities and the fashion world pays close attention to what they're wearing, and they've all been wearing the Depezza brand. Depezza is a fairly new kid on the block, created only 4 years ago by Greek fashion designer Dimitra Petsa. She graduated in 2018 from Central St Martin's University in London and created her brand just a year later.
I grew up with my grandmother in Athens, Greece, and she was a seamstress and a tailoring teacher. So ever since I can remember myself, I was amongst the scraps of fabric and also seeing my grandmother create, bespoke garments for all these women. And so I always knew that I wanted to continue this in my life.
She's recently showcased her designs at London Fashion Week for a second time and is dressing celebrities all around the world. So how do you go from new graduate to couture fashion designer in such a short time? Today, we're going to find out. The luxury fashion industry is a pretty robust one, worth close to $400 billion worldwide and expected to grow at a steady rate of 6% each year for the foreseeable future. Relying on high-income consumers, luxury fashion performs better than other areas of the industry in times of high inflation and recession. A pretty safe place to be then, if you can get there. So how do you get there? First, you need to get noticed.
My emblematic piece is the wet look. So this is what we were known for from the start. And basically the wet look is a technique that I developed when I was still in my master's, which makes a garment look wet even though it isn't. If you cry in public, you have to hide it. If you sweat in public, you have to hide it. If you breastfeed in public, you have to hide it. It is almost as if our watery emotions are censored. So what I wanted to show with this technique, the wet look technique as we call it, is, make a woman look like she's just drenched in water. And it's a celebration of the fact that we come from water and we are full of water in our body. And that's something that should be, celebrated. And it's very beautiful and spiritual.
It was that wet look dress that got the Depezza brand noticed by celebrities across the globe. It meant Dimitra's clothes were appearing on Shakira in her music videos, on the red carpet at the Met Gala with Lizzo, and even on beauty adverts for L'Oreal, where Zendaya wore a Depezza dress.
We have done the pregnancy reveal of Gigi Hadid, so I think that was a big moment when we did that, because that photo went very viral, obviously. And we did the dress for Kim Kardashian for her campaign. Her team just got in contact with us and they asked us to make a few designs. So I did, and then we had the back and forth with her stylists and getting feedback or changes to the design specifications, and that's how we do it. So basically it is my design, but it is a lot of back and forth between me and the stylist or me and the talent.
How does having a celebrity wear one of your dresses or a garment that you've made affect the business?
I think it's quite surprising because I think a lot of people assume that if you dress a celebrity, immediately you're just going to start to get loads and lots of requests. But I think, for example, with my brand, because we are a sustainable brand that supports slow fashion and we make a lot of things bespoke, we use a lot of craftsmanship. So our pieces are very special. So with some celebrities, it has worked very well, where, we get loads and loads of emails of people trying to get a custom look. With other celebrities, maybe we'll get one or two. So I think it's not how people envision it, that every time you dress a celebrity, that immediately translates into sales. And actually, oftentimes, what people say in the industry is not only about the sales. Brand awareness is actually a very big part of it, because maybe someone will get to know your brand and they're not going to buy from you now. But even the fact that they know of your brand, maybe later down the road, they might.
Celebrity interest doesn't always lead to cold hard sales, but getting that brand exposure is important. So how do you build a high-end fashion brand from scratch in order to start that journey?
My first commission was a wedding dress for a friend of a friend, and then another dress. And I really built it so slowly, like just from my living room.
You're needing to buy fabric, spend time designing and needing money to live in those early stages. How did that work in terms of financing the brand that you were starting?
For sure, for sure. So I think it's just very important in the beginning to just know that you're not gonna really make a lot of money. Like for me, when I was able to afford my rent, I think that was really a big moment for me and I didn't really care about anything else. And yeah, just any commission and any work that I got, I would just put that straight back to the business basically.
Did it just work on a case where you had a friend of a friend that wanted a dress and then it was like word of mouth that you were making what you were making and then more people came to you, or did you have to do marketing, or how did it all work?
I had, a very clear vision of the brand and what I wanted to portray visually. I had also studied fine art, and I think I was quite comfortable with also being the creative director, let's say. So I really utilized that, and I would just take photos with my phone, nothing fancy, or like I would collaborate with a photographer who just wanted to shoot my stuff for free, just for their portfolio, and I would put all that up on Instagram. People would see it from Instagram or from interviews with like smaller magazines I was doing, and then it kind of slowly snowballed from there. I didn't have the funds to pay for special marketing or something like this. When I started, I had zero contacts. I wasn't in the fashion, world.
Self-promotion and a few interviews in some small fashion magazines gets you so far. But when you're growing a business, there comes a time where you need to recruit staff. And that was the next hurdle for Dimitra to overcome.
I got one person who was working with me at the British Fashion Council. She started to work with me, who's my brand manager. Together we started building it. Then I hired one seamstress, then another. Then we had to go to a bit of a bigger studio space. You have to just take the right steps when the moment comes.
You're the designer at heart. Was it difficult to maybe take on a bit of the business side of things?
It's definitely a challenge for sure. It's not something that, when you're studying fine art and you're getting so inside the artistic process, you never think, oh, taxes and VAT and, export, import. I actually really like running a business. I think that's not very common amongst, my friends, designers, but I actually really enjoy sitting down with a brand manager and making business plans and making projections and seeing what is the right business step at every point in time. I'm quite switched on in the business side as well, which I think you have to. There have definitely been times where I have struggled emotionally to take on all this burden from the point of you want to be the best at everything. So I want to be the best businesswoman and the best artist and the best designer. And I am actually very involved in every single thing, even the movement direction that we do for the shows, even the music that we do for the shows, the campaigns, the photo, like everything. I am very involved in everything and I make a lot of those decisions. Right now in my life, I'm at a place where I have accepted this. I'm gonna be working all day, every day, but it's in my life. I love what I do and I get so much satisfaction and beauty and so many beautiful relationships through it. So I have made my peace with that.
I guess there'll come a time, though, as the brand grows, where you just can't possibly be involved in absolutely everything and you have to start giving those jobs out to other people.
Of course, but I think that's the part of starting to let go of control as well. For example, we recently got a studio manager. So that was a big burden, off of my shoulders. And then maybe as we grow, bigger, I might get, designer assistants, because now I design everything by myself. I think what I have a lot of faith in is just taking it as it comes and having that, self belief that, okay, when the moment is right, I'm going to take the right step. Because I think sometimes people can get stuck in a situation because we are afraid of change or we're afraid to lose control.
Mentoring has also played a part in helping Dimitra get to where she is today. She's part of the New Gen at the British Fashion Council, an initiative to support upcoming designers. As part of this programme, she's been able to get support to put on shows at London Fashion Week.
They provide me with a space to do my catwalk, and they also provide a production team. So they are really there to give you the infrastructure, but then everything else, let's say who you invite, the creative vision, the lighting, everything, the set design, this all has to come from my brand. It's basically a long process. I start a few months before every show, and I like to work at everything at the same time. So while I'm designing the clothes, I am working with a musician on the show music, and I'm also working with the set designer on the set. And I'm also working with a light designer on the lights, so it's all at the same time. It's definitely not an inexpensive project. Everything really starts to add up very quickly, just the models is a huge cost, and then if you add production and just everything starts to stack up.
Appearing at Fashion Week is clearly a big investment, but it's also the place to get the exposure you need as a brand.
So what happens is that brands will show during Fashion Week. Maybe you show New York Fashion Week, Milan Fashion Week, it doesn't matter, but you do show in Fashion Week. And then you take all of your collection and you go to a country. Usually it's Paris, that's where everybody goes. And you do what's called a showroom. And what you do there is you have all your clothes in rails. You have a fitting model, you have, a couple mannequins, and buyers come to meet you there in person and see the clothes in person. And sometimes they make a selection there, or, they ask you questions about quantities and different colorways. And basically that's where they go and they do, in quotes, the shopping for the store.
That must be quite nerve-wracking.
Definitely, it is. And it's also very funny because they have so many brands to see. So you have to be very quick, and you have to, especially if they want to see everything on a model. And, you can't have 5 models, you only have 1 or 2. So you have to, very quickly change the clothes on the model so that they can see the next. And then they see it and they're like, okay, next one, next one, next one, So it's a lot of time spent in the changing room just trying to change a dress as fast as possible.
Yeah, it's like a race. It's a race that's worth running in, as Dimitra now has her brand stocked in some big retailers.
In UK, we have Selfridges, and LSCC carry a selection of our pieces that we show in Fashion Week. So, for example, if I show in February the autumn-winter show, Selfridges is going to make their selection and buy a few things and quantities from the collection. And then they're going to have all this product delivered in time for the winter season of next year, and they're going to have it in store. Some brands rely only on direct to consumer. For me, I do both. And I think that what has really helped with the cash flow, because when you get retailers, you actually don't get to see that money for many months. So you start the production of, let's say, a huge order, but you only get the money for that order when you deliver the pieces. And sometimes, depends on the terms, But some retailers don't even give you the money once they receive the garments. They will give it to you in a few months after they have already sold it.
Gosh, that's
So
a long time to wait, isn't it?
exactly. So that's a very big period of time where you actually don't have, a constant stream of money coming in. And that is where direct to consumer has really helped us having money coming in.
So what's next for Dipetza?
I think we just really want to grow and expand our territories. We are very much Europe and America based, but we would like to expand in new territories. And I think I would like to have more brand awareness and get people to really engage with the concept and the ethos of the brand, because I think we are known for making these beautiful garments, but there is a very rich history and a lot of thought that goes behind it. So yeah, I would like to have more of an opportunity to showcase that through different shows, different artistic exhibitions, and
Are there certain parts of the world you've got your eye on specifically that you'd like to be known in and be able to sell to?
I would love to be more in Asia, in the Middle East, and just go global, I guess. The sheer population is so huge, especially in the Asian market. So different territories have a different kind of consumer. For example, I sell different kinds of pieces in America versus Europe. In the US, they really love the special extravagant pieces. So they really like their hour-long wet look dresses, things with a lot of jewelry in it, and just these very, very shouting pieces. Whereas I think in Europe we're a bit more low-key. So we like, things that perhaps don't scream as much.
Whether Dimitra is creating clothes for the US market or the more reserved Europeans, she's certainly proving that you can become a successful fashion designer, even with no contacts and not much experience in the industry. That's all from today's episode of Business Daily, produced and presented by me, Hannah Mullane. Thanks for listening.